On today's DNVR Buffs Live, I have an urgent PSA for all of Buff Nation. So gather around, everyone. Turn your volume up. Stop doing what you're doing at work. Let's go.
Buff Nation.
Let's go.
Coming to you live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. It is DNVR Buffs prime time. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I've been better. I've been worse, though. Not bad, though.
I
agree.
have
a game Saturday.
We do have a game Saturday, and there's a lot going on in Buff Nation right now.
A lot.
And I'm going to get to the game Saturday, but I want to start here with the fight song controversy.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of different things going on. There's a lot of different feelings. There's a lot of shady reporting going on. So I want to get the facts out, but I want to start here because I think this is what it all boils down to. Within the first couple days of Coach Prime being hired, I looked right into this camera and I said, some things are going to change that people are not going to like. Mm-hmm. Whether that is people being fired or traditions being altered or uniforms being changed in ways that people don't like. And I sat here and I said, we have to decide whether we want to feel warm and fuzzy or we want to win.
Yep.
But there's just one problem, Jake. We haven't won yet.
Yep.
And so what happens is when things are changing and then you go on the road and get your asses beat by a rival, everything changes. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to a Buffs fan the other day who said, based on the reaction of the fan base, I feel as though we've gone from the honeymoon phase to the, as they described it, I have some questions phase.
Yeah.
And that is the cost of what happened on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Is a lot of people have questions. Now, I'll get to that later because I believe patience is deserved. But the reason why this is coming up right now and why it's such a big deal for some factions of people is because when you don't win, there are certain things that you fall back on. I remember talking on this show long before Coach Prime was hired about why I keep going to Folsom Field.
Right.
And at that point, it stopped being about football. It was about watching Ralphie run. It was about, for me, tailgating with my family has always been a big part of my traditions going to the games. And everyone has different parts of why they've remained a fan through, for lack of a better term, 20 years of bullshit.
Yep.
And traditions are a big part of that. And so while that specific tradition of playing Glory, Glory, Colorado after a touchdown or when Ralphie runs out doesn't necessarily speak to what's important to me when I go to games, it does speak to other people's importance. And so I understand the frustration. And I truly believe that if the team was winning, nobody would bring it up.
Right.
Or if it did, no one would really pay it that much attention.
Yeah.
But because the team didn't win last year and because we lost to Nebraska, now certain things are starting to flare up. I also want to say on this that traditions and the pomp and circumstance that surrounds college football are more important to the band maybe than any other faction of the fan base. And when we were down horrendous and I started to meet people who were still riding with the program, because it literally got down to like a pool of, I think even saying 1,000 people that were still like diehard fans might be generous.
Yeah.
It's a very small distilled down pool of people who were still riding or dying with the program when we were at our worst. And I'll be honest, Jake, a large percentage of those people were former people who were in the band. And I think that's because when you're in the band and you're a part of it in that way, you do start to fall in love with all of the different little things that aren't necessarily as much about football.
Right.
So I want to get that part out there first. I get why to some people this is really important. From my perspective, personally, I don't see it to be a problem. And maybe I shouldn't even say I don't see it to be a problem. It doesn't offend my senses when it comes to my game day experience. Like I said on Twitter, I didn't notice it at first.
I hit the fuse box, so hopefully that worked.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I think we're back. Yep. Yeah, we're back.
We are back. Okay. So what I'm do is my feelings on this. I didn't notice it during the game because when the team scores a touchdown, everyone's losing their minds anyway.
Right.
And the fight song was played after the extra point, which is where it's always been played. And some people are saying this whole story is a lie. It's not. Where I think the reporting on this went wrong was saying that they are playing Shador's song instead of the fight song.
Yes.
That part is not true. Unless you are mostly, someone who is in the band who talks about what Ben Burrows wrote a long thing about today, the 3 fight song sequence, and how it's evolved over time, and there are what you could call 3 fight songs. Most Buffs fans, I think of one song as the fight song, and that song is still being played after the extra point, which is when it's always been played. But they're playing Shador's song after the touchdown pass. And they said they're going to play Glory Colorado after that. But in the plays that I watched, they didn't have time before the kicking team was already lined up. Regardless of all that, it didn't specifically bother me. And I actually I think it's kind of cool. But I don't think that is a reason to then go after anyone else's feelings about it. I think everyone, like I said, experiences Colorado football or college football in their own way and has their own things that mean something to them. So I don't want to try and push down or invalidate anyone's feelings about what traditions are important and which ones aren't. Everything is important to different people in different ways. I would say it's a little bit too early to be panicking over the winning part. Obviously, what we saw on the field last week was far too similar to what we saw on the field last season, and that is a scary thing for people. And it multiplies it about 100x that it happened against Nebraska.
Yes.
So people are feeling not great right now, and little things like this then gain, well, maybe not little to everyone, but things like this then gain more steam because everyone's in a bit of panic mode right now, I think, in the fan base.
Yeah.
We are now 14 games, correct? Into the Coach Prime era, and it has not been what we wanted to see or what we had hoped for from a winning perspective yet.
Yeah.
There are 10 more games left in this season, and there's a chance, as much as I don't want to admit it, that Nebraska just turns out to be really good.
Yep.
And Colorado gets better throughout the course of the season and maybe only plays 1 or 2 teams as good as Nebraska ends up being. And Colorado continues to get better across the season and competes better in those games. We shall see. And that leads me to my second point. And this is the real PSA that I need everyone to pay attention to. Turn your volume up. Tell your boss, hold on 1 second. I'll do what you need me to do in a minute. I don't normally like making war references when it comes to football, but this one's always stuck with me, and it's something I learned in freshman year history class, and you'll realize quickly why I remembered it.
Yeah.
I believe the guy's name was Mr. Carter, and he asked the class, during the Cold War, the United States gained intelligence that Russia had picked a certain day that the U.S. was the most vulnerable. He went around the class and he said, does anyone know what day they picked? And Christmas, this, that. People said a bunch of different things. After everyone was wrong, I raised my hand. I said, Super Bowl? He said, exactly. U.S. gained intelligence during the Cold War that Russia believed the United States was most vulnerable to be attacked on Super Bowl Sunday because that was when they were most distracted. And I feel, as Buff Nation, we are incredibly distracted right now. There's a lot of things going on, and there's a ton of infighting going on within the fan base, whether it's new fans versus old fans, fans who care about what's played after a touchdown versus fans who don't, this, that, or the other. We're so distracted right now, and that makes us vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And we cannot afford to be distracted right now because we are going into what I believe to be the biggest game of the Coach Prime era.
Yeah.
This is a must-win game. This is a non-negotiable win. And this is one that, if you win, the train starts to correct back, right? And now you got your sights set on Baylor, and you're okay, that's a winnable game. And then you go to UCF, okay, that's a winnable game. The vibes will turn around pretty dramatically if you go out there and you take care of business this week. And even better so if you take care of business in convincing fashion.
Yeah.
The other side of this, Jake, though, is what could happen if Colorado doesn't win this week. And nobody wants to see that. Because all of the work that, anyone has done about believe and, I've been trying to get everyone to let go of hell and all of that stuff, all that shit will be out the window, and we will be in full panic meltdown mode in Buff Nation if they don't go take care of business this week. Do the fans have to go out and play this week? No. But I don't like the feeling that I get when I log on to social and I see Buff fans fighting other Buff fans rather than fighting CSU fans.
Yes.
I get it. We've now had, 72 hours to digest that loss to Nebraska. I think everything that's happened since then, at least that I've seen, is what I could have called to be predictable. But when you have back-to-back road rivalry games, we can't afford to dwell on this anymore.
Yes.
As Buff Nation, what we can do is come together, settle our differences for now, and aim all of our energy in the direction of uplifting the team and doing what we can do to support them to go out there and win what is the single most important game of the Coach Prime era to date. Got to win this one, so let's stop nitpicking and fighting and telling people your feelings don't matter and your feelings don't matter and you're not believing enough or you don't understand what the past was like. We got to drop that.
Yep.
We got to drop that. Come together and support the team to go win a football game.
Yeah. Well said, man. I think the fan base needs to chill out a bit. I know, and this is, going back to the whole fight song controversy and all this, I think that the gas was obviously poured on the fire because it was Nebraska. I think that's why things are the way they are right now. Of course. It's because it was Nebraska. They lose that game in that fashion to almost any other team, and I guarantee you the freak out isn't nearly as bad.
No.
It's because it was your biggest rival, and now you have another big rival right, on the schedule this weekend. So, yes, I think it'd only do good if the fan base kind of came together a bit right now, supported these players, supported these coaches, because we're in week 3, man. Like, we can't start this right now in September when we have 2 more months.
No. And at the same time, there's a part of it where it's like everyone wants the team to stay together. Everyone's talking about the chemistry there and how they need to, aim their sails in the same directions. We have no control over that. But as fans, we can do that together. We have to come together. Everyone here has a common goal. Everyone here wants the same thing. We all want the Buffs to win. We express it in different ways. And so let's drop it. Let's let the past be the past. Nebraska happened. It absolutely sucked. Now we got to move forward and try and get this thing moving in the right direction. As fans, what we can do is come together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and then there's other fan bases kind of facing this type of stuff right now. Maybe not to this level because they haven't lost to a rival like this in week 2 of the season. But look at Notre Dame. Like, that was, you talk about a playoff team, like someone who is got a lot of pressure on them to win. You know, a lot of people said, you know, you win that first game against A&M, the schedule's cake. You're basically CFP walking. Well, now you have this loss to Northern Illinois hanging over your head. Like, there are other teams and fan bases facing this pressure right now in week 2. This isn't unique to Colorado.
And on that note, something I meant to bring up earlier was like, no fan should be expected to like every single thing that is going on in their favorite team's program.
Yeah.
No matter who the coach has ever been, there has always been issues with things that they were doing. You know, when Dan Hawkins was here, people didn't like the way that he didn't embrace the traditions. When Mel Tucker was here, people didn't like that he was willing to unretire Whizzer White's number. Like, there's always going to be something, and I don't think the fans should be expected to love everything that's happening. At the same time, though, when teams that are winning, there's much less hand-wringing over things that aren't directly happening on the field.
Yeah.
But you're totally right in saying that different fan bases are dealing with this. No one that has a loss on their record right now is happy. But we got to move on. It has to become CSU hate week like now.
Yes. Yes. All right, let's take a break, and then we'll kind of get to press conferences today. And shout out to UC Health and their Ready, Set, Co initiative. I think we all could spend, a little more time looking after ourselves right now. Fan base, coaches, players, you and I, Alyssa, everyone in this building, spending more personal time, just decompressing a bit, going to the gym, sleeping better, whatever it is. But Coach Prime is leading the charge as the Chief Motivation Officer of UC Health's Ready, Set, Co Challenge to get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state in the country. If you want to join UC Health's Ready, Set, Co Challenge, you can click the link in the show notes or go to www.uchealth.org/readysetco.
Also, I'm unprepared.
Empire Today.
Big shout out to Empire Today. The ground is not falling underneath us.
Yes.
It's actually quite sturdy. And that's thanks to our friends over at Empire Today who installed the floor that we are sitting on currently. They've got maybe the best deal I've seen offered from many of our partners, at least from a total discount standpoint. You can receive $350 off when you use the promo code DNVR and schedule a free in-home estimate today. Have them come in, see what you need, and then they'll quote you minus $350 when you use the promo code DNVR. So head over to empiretoday.com/DNVR for details and get yourself on sturdy ground.
Last thing before we get to the press conferences, just what you were saying about the fight song and that whole controversy. Like, I'm not as attached to the university, so I'm not going to really speak on the whole fight song thing. Like, I get there's a lot of people who have, those attachments and stuff. And that's obviously, like, they're right. They spent 4+ years going to CU with those traditions. So I'm not going to, say that. I'm just pissed about the media coverage, again, about this thing.
Yes.
This is beyond ridiculous. And we're going to get the Coach Prime clip right now on this today. But this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Especially because anyone could have done what I did.
Yeah.
Which would just go pull up the game and listen.
Yeah. It's boggles my... It's bordering on, this political discourse we have in this country right now.
Yeah, it is.
It's just... There's so much just... shit being thrown at the wall about this team, and it somehow sticks every time, and it's just there's no accountability, which is what Coach said. There's just no integrity when it comes to this reporting and stuff. It's gross and it's frustrating, and I don't know if it's ever going to stop at this point, honestly.
No, and I've said this a million times, but people will always believe what they want to believe. So if you feed them something that sounds like something that they like, they'll believe it.
Yeah.
And that is just the case, and it's gotten worse and worse because of what you mentioned, the political discourse in this country.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's hear what Coach Prime had to say right off rip about this report. are having a little technical difficulties playing the clip. Jake, you want to sum it up for us?
Yeah, let me. I don't want to misquote Coach on this, so I'm going to pull it all up here. Are we good?
I don't know. It's not playing.
I can read it out. It's all right.
That's all right.
Coach Prime starts out today with his opening statement. Well, let me start out with the main thing. Whoever reported that, I told the band not to play the fight song. That's idiotic. Y'all know that, like, when you saw that, you know there was a lot. Sorry, this transcription's crazy. We have to start with some kind of accountability to this. I understand that this is a free and open world, that everybody is not a journalist. Everyone's not an analyst. Everybody really hadn't put a lot of work in to do what y'all do, talking to the media in the room. I'm thankful for many of y'all that take your job and your craft serious, and consequently you get facts before you run with false narratives. But please note that that stuff affects people. You've been attacking me my whole life, so I'm good. But other people that's involved, band members, Buffs faithful and alumni and all that, sometimes they don't know what to believe. And oftentimes in life, we believe that first thing we hear in which we shouldn't. I just would challenge you to be more responsible with your reporting. And I never wanted to get personal. So when it gets personal, you got to really think about that. You got to understand. I have a huge platform. I could really get personal if I wanted to, but I choose not to because that's not right. Some things in life is just not right. And I don't want to go there, and I won't go there. But think about it. Just my family alone, that platform is enormous. If we really wanted to go there, we could go there. But we would never do that. We weren't raised like that. We weren't brought up like that. We were brought up to love that neighbor, thy neighbor, as much as we can. Now let's continue.
And let's get into actually the small details of this. No one knows the exact story of what led to Shador's song playing after touchdowns. But I can give at least my guess on what may have happened. And I think when you think of it this way, it becomes a lot less, offensive to those who are offended by this. Mm-hmm. My guess is that at some point during the offseason, could have been any point in the offseason, when there was very little football going on, Coach Prime was sitting there and he said, man, wouldn't it be cool if after Shador threw a touchdown pass, we played his song? They should not play that song, and they should play this song instead. I don't think Coach Prime was thinking about whatever song they currently played. Yeah. And he said, hey, how cool would it be if we did this? He asked, whoever was in charge of that, hey, do you think we could do this? Whoever's in charge of game day DJing. And then it from that point, it was probably just off of his plate entirely. And they said, okay, hey, this is what Coach Prime wants, so we're going to do it this way. Not like Coach Prime walked into a band practice and was like, listen up.
Yeah.
No more fight songs after touchdowns. It's only Shador's.
Right.
There's no way it was that aggressive or anything like that. And again, just to be clear, because I put this on Twitter, but we haven't talked about it today. Here's what happened after a touchdown last year. Touchdown. While the celebration is happening, they're doing their touchdown dance in the end zone. The band plays Glory, Glory, Colorado, which is the original fight song of the school, going all the way back to like the 1800s. Then they line up, they kicks the extra point. After that, they play what is known as Fight CU, which is the fight song that any Buffs fan, if you said, do you know the fight song, would think you are talking about.
Yes.
So it is misleading at the least, disingenuous at the most to say that Coach Prime stopped them from playing the fight song to then play Shador's song after touchdown passes. Just so we have that out there. But I think the idea that this was like a mandate is a bit wild, and I think it was more of a idea that then was carried out.
Yeah.
Also, I mentioned this on Twitter. It was kind of cool.
I mean, bro, people are probably going to hate this, but you want to talk about an up in recruiting for like potential recruits, like Julian Lewis, maybe. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The way people are going to look at this is just, of course, through the negative point of view, and he's only about himself and his kids, so whatever. It is what it is.
Yep. But after it was mentioned to me, I looked and like you see when they play the song and like all of the students, which the song has like caught on within the students.
Yes.
And just within the family, you saw the sorority dance that they did to it. Yeah. Like it's become like it might be strong to call it like an anthem for the CU students, but it's become a thing for CU
Yes.
students. Like it's played at parties, things like that. And you look in the student section when they're playing it after touchdowns, like everyone's throwing up their watches. Like
Yeah.
it was a fun time for them.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's better than the old way.
Right.
But I would just like that to be mentioned.
Are we good to play the injuries clip?
Let's give it a try. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, give it a shot for now, and then I'll just read it.
Maybe. No.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry.
It's all good. Again, all these press conferences are on our YouTube page. We have some clips on DNVR_Buffs on Twitter, too, if you want to check them out. Coach was asked about the injuries. First off, Shiloh, he said 2 to 3 weeks. Basically said that Shiloh came out of surgery thinking he could play this next week, of course, like Shiloh being Shiloh. But 2 to 3 weeks is the timeline for Shiloh. As Unk said on Sunday in the post-game show, he's going to get a plate in there. He had surgery, obviously, so it's a matter of the incision healing and then just casting that thing up. And if Shiloh's ready to go, then he's ready to go.
Yeah, I was actually in a doctor's office mere minutes before I was on the show today, and they were asking me about Shiloh. And I said, yeah, Coach Prime said 2 to 3 weeks. He said, didn't he break his arm? I said, yeah, I mean, I think that they think they can just club it up and let him go out there. And he said, wow, he must be a wild man. I said, he is definitely a wild man.
Chidoze, coach says, we're praying for him that he can make it back. I like to see one good day of practice before I put those guys out there. If you watched and went back and watched the tape of Nebraska, and just if you remember NDSU, obviously, Chidoze's been a monster for this team.
So good.
He's been an absolute monster. He's going to get drafted this year. He's been as advertised. Probably one of the best transfers to come in.
I would say better than advertised.
Yeah.
To this point. So it sounded like he was hopeful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he said, I don't know if Harge is going to play this week. He said Hayden is out. So that's better than what it sounded like for those two guys. Isaiah Harge is out.
Was that a special teams play that he got hurt on?
I think so. I'm not too sure, though. And then, yes, the big one, Dallin Hayden is out for this weekend. He got rolled up on a tackle late in the game. I'd assume ankle injury. He left the game in a boot. And just a massive blow for this team, considering where they are right now and what they need to change going into CSU.
Absolutely. That's a huge bummer. And I saw some people kind of hand-wringing over the fact that he was in the game. I just think that they had gotten nothing going on the ground to that point through 1.8 games. And I think having him out there and trying to get him a little bit of rhythm is understandable at the very least.
Yep.
So it's unfortunate what happened, but next man up.
Yep.
And that man is probably Micah Welch or maybe Isaiah Augustov.
I'd imagine it's those three. It's Charlie, Isaiah, and Micah. I mean, that's all we have. Maybe we get some Brandon Hood, but
yeah,
those are the top three.
I actually also liked what I saw from Isaiah at the end of the game. And kind of just falling forward. It looked like he was able to get an extra yard out of every run that he was out there for, which you love to see, and obviously is not something that Charlie has displayed thus far.
Yes. Just sticking with injuries, Coach Prime spoke on Shedeur going to the locker room. He said it was a TV timeout. The doctors don't want to take the players to the locker room when the play is going on. Chidoze was 10 steps ahead of Shedeur when they were going in to get checked by the doctors. And Colorado's sideline, compared to their tunnel at Nebraska, were literally across the field.
Mm-hmm.
So Shedeur's not going to walk across the field while play is going on to get out of there. That's why he got out of there when he did. And I did see Chidoze 10 steps in front of him, along with, I think, Torian Carter walked off right in front of him, too. Coach sent all the injured players off the field together, or players who needed attention from the medical staff.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, Lauren was walking with Shedeur. Was part of the group walking with Shedeur.
So I'm done talking about that nonsense.
That really is nonsense.
It's crazy, bro. No clips are working?
No.
No, I don't know what's going on.
So Coach Prime was asked about the comments made this offseason by Kim Norvell, Jay Norvell's son, and just the whole drama with this situation that we have now on our hands going into this week, because we all know what happened last year in the Rocky Mountain Showdown. And I expect it to get somewhat spicy again this weekend. But Coach Prime was asked about it. And he said, I had the honor and pleasure at the Big 12 meetings to meet his wife. She's delightful. I'm not looking for an apology. I just met her. She was delightful. I haven't met him. I don't know. I don't judge people based off what they say when they're emotional. I can't do that. My heart ain't built like that. But when you show me who you are, I got to believe you. Yeah. That's about it.
Well, then I think there was a follow-up to that as well. Just asking about the interaction, and he once again reiterated she was delightful. And that is all I'm going to say about that.
Take that as you will. All right, some more from Coach today. He was asked, how do they scout CSU after they played? Go ahead.
One last thing that I think belongs in the running back conversation, Draylon Miller.
Absolutely.
Not very involved against Nebraska. Maybe that's where he gets involved.
I hope so. Coach Prime on how to scout CSU, because they've played such a wide range of opponents in their first two games. One being a national powerhouse in Texas, who's going to be a CFP contender, and then Northern Colorado. Sorry, Alyssa. Coach Prime says they're consistent with the plays they run and the personnel changes they have. So you scout the consistency that they have. They're doing some wonderful things. We've just got to be stout to stop them in all phases. On the offensive line, Coach Prime said, I feel like we've got the right guys. We might shake some things up a little bit. And people hung on that one word, might. Here's the thing. I can almost virtually guarantee you they are going to change some personnel on the offensive line.
Yes. Oh, so people were saying, like, they were mad that he said might, not that they will?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There's changes coming.
Yes. I asked Coach Prime about Tyler Johnson's status, and I encourage you to go watch the press conference when I asked this question. Very last question in the press conference. Because Coach Prime...
Was that your second question or your first?
That was my first.
Why you wait until the last question, my guy?
Oh, my God. You don't want to get into this with me today.
I do.
I don't understand what happens with the mic in there. I really don't. Like, Scott is sitting right next to me, and we're like, have our hands raised. The guy sees us, and he says, and Curtis makes eye contact with Scott and goes, okay. And then the mic goes 3 fucking rows back, and it gets passed around back there. And then I'm sitting there at the end of the press conference like, why do I even sit up here?
Oh, my God. That's funny. Maybe I shouldn't have got you started on this today.
That's what I'm saying.
My advice, in the time between when one press conference ends and the next one begins, get the attention of the person and let them know. Let me go early here. Because what happens is, as soon as Coach Prime sits down, everyone raises their hand. So then the person who has the microphone starts going, okay, you, then you, then you, then you, then you, then you, then you. And if you're not already in their mind before they start counting, then you're going to get behind. And then what's going to happen is Curtis will go, all right, last question. And then it's too late.
Anyways, I encourage you to go watch Coach Prime's answer when I asked him about Tyler Johnson. He said, Tyler's coming. Took him a while to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I even fully unpacked it.
No. Something's going on there, though.
Yeah. Well, and that's been obvious from the beginning.
Yeah. Coach Prime was also asked about Shador's control at the line of scrimmage.
For what it's worth, I do go to all of the press conferences. I wasn't able to go today because of I'll call it a family health matter.
Yes. He said Shador has the freedom. He's a senior. He's played a lot of football. He has a tremendous relationship with Pat. He also mentioned the in-helmet communication devices and how they turn off at 15 seconds, and defenses have caught on, and they wait to change their looks until the play clock hits that point.
Yep. And
then it's just the quarterback alone on the field making decisions at that point. So, I think that's it from Coach Prime's press conference today. Again, whole thing up on our YouTube channel.
How did you feel about Coach Prime's just general demeanor today?
pretty good. And look, and here's another point I want to make.
And I don't mean like, how did you feel? I mean, like, what vibe did you get from it? Confidence or frustration, or, you know, where are we at?
I think a little bit of frustration, definitely confidence. That's just who he is. But also annoyance, I think. I think him having to deal with the fight song stuff is just, it's a complete distraction to what the situation we're in right now. He wasn't happy about it. I think he's pissed about the reporting that happens with this team and situations like this, how they just get dogpiled on. And even when the school makes a statement and it gets put out there, it only gets 80K views on Twitter compared to Barstool's 5.5 million view post. Mm-hmm. And I think he's just annoyed with all of that.
I'm not having a baby.
I think that the team is... I think the fan base is freaking out at least 10 times more than the team is right now. I think the team has great perspective with where they are in the season. I think the team has great perspective with who they are as a team in terms of their personnel, their talent level, and what they have to fix. I think they're locked in on that stuff, man. And it's just... There's just so much going on right now that it seems like the world is shaking and falling apart. But I think in the building, they're really sound.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to this. I think it's hard to understand the levity of a rivalry until you lose a game.
Yep.
Like last year, everyone told them how much the rivalry to Nebraska meant. But then we just went out there and mopped their asses. And no one ever talked about Nebraska again for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
For CSU, it was a little bit different because I think they got a scare in that game. And so maybe the guys who are on the team might even have more of an appreciation for that rivalry. And especially because of the cheap shot bullshit that happened within the game. I hope I'm allowed to say that. I've said it a lot today.
We both have.
I just, yeah, I think that it's hard to really understand what it means until. So I'm sure if they played Nebraska again next year, which is unfortunate that they don't, there would be a little bit more of an understanding there. And maybe it was a wake-up call from that regard of like, wow, the fans really care about losing to these guys, maybe even more than they care about winning against them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, the players aren't going to be as down bad as the fans because they're not, you know, in the trenches on social media fighting with these people, getting memes in their mentions every 35 seconds from Nebraska fans. So there's, I guess, the positive side of it. Completely aside, but I want to mention it before I forget. Someone in the comments said use Bentley at fullback, and I might be the best idea I've heard all year.
He's been balling, man.
But just like think about him getting to hit someone, trying to go tackle Michael Welch or whoever's back there.
All right, we got to hit this break. You want to tell people about Bet365?
Big shout out to Bet365. I had an up and down weekend.
I did not have a good weekend.
Really?
No.
I had a little bit of a lifeboat last night because I hit Breece Hall, yeah.
Yes.
For some reason, my brain really wanted me to say Bryce. Breece Hall, first touchdown in the game at plus, I think, 800. So that was kind of a nice little bounce back over at Bet365. But Bet365 is fantastic, and you got to test it out because there's so many different ways to win, but also there's ways to win at Bet365 that you can't do anywhere else, including their early win bonus or early win payouts.
Early money line payout. Yep.
Early money line payout. Thanks, Jake. You're the king of them, so
I got him.
You know the name. But what it is in football is a 17. If you get up 17 points at any point during the game, you've already won. Mm-hmm. Your bet is settled. You don't even have to wait till the end. You win and you move on to the next one. So it's really fun. It's a great way of doing it, and you can get some stress-free wins that way.
Yes.
So get over to Bet365 and use the code DNVR365 when you sign up to activate the bet and get offer. Place a bet of $5 or more after depositing $10 or more and get $200 in bonus bets. It's fantastic.
It is fantastic. Must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or somebody who knows a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, shout out to our friends over at Westera Credit Union. You got to have some type of bank/credit union, right? You just have to. But credit unions are just going to help you out a little bit more. They're not big corporations. They have better deals to help you out. And Westera just launched their 90th anniversary CD that offers 9% annual percent yield. Yes, you heard that right. 9% annual percentage yield on a 5-month certificate of deposit. You can also start earning high interest on balances as low as $500 and a max of $3,000. These will only be offered for a limited time, so head on over to westeracu.com to learn more. Early withdrawal penalty applies. Fees could reduce earnings. Rates are accurate as of 9/1/2024. New money and in-branch offer only. Limited time offer subject to change without notice. Review membership account agreement disclosure and information guide for additional details. Membership eligibility required. Insured by NCUA. But shout out Westera. They've been awesome to me. Literally like my second day I was living in Colorado. Opened an account with them. And they've been great. So head on over to Westera. Okay, let's hit the players' press conference. First time we had BJ Greene on the podium, right?
Yeah.
DJ, this was at least his second time, I believe, being up there. But they were asked about the national criticism that Colorado gets. And we don't have the clip, so I'm just going off the quote here. This is DJ McKinney. He said, everybody can say what they want to say. They're not in the program. They're not on the field with us. Everything that matters is on the field. And I believe them when they were answering this question, both him and BJ. Rivalry games suck to lose, but I think the players have done a good job to just realize this is one of 12 in the resume that is this season. And I think they are completely focused on CSU.
I completely agree. And I, like I said, I think it's like a low-key benefit of maybe having guys who are new to the program. You know, it's different than it used to be back in the day. And this is true of all programs, not just Colorado, but like where you're playing a rival every year for 4 years. All 4 games are high stakes. And by your 4th year, you're telling the players that are freshmen, like,
yeah,
you don't understand how much we hate these guys.
Yep.
Like, it's an unfortunate side effect of the transfer portal, bless you.
Thank you.
Is some of that stuff is lost. Not to mention the fact that Colorado doesn't play Nebraska every year. It's been two-game series over the last 6 years or whatever it is. So, but because of that, it's not as emotional.
Yes.
That being said, time to turn the emotion up a little bit. And I do think there's something to be said for the fact that every team is going to get up for Colorado. Like Shador said it. Everyone's mad about it. We're every team's Super Bowl. And he's right.
Did you see the atmosphere on Saturday?
Yeah. By the way, I'm willing to give credit to Nebraska for something.
What's that?
The drone thing was sick.
Drone thing was cool.
Drone thing was sick. Salute. Good job. I hope we steal that. Anyways, because of that, the team's aware of it. You are everyone's Super Bowl. That means every game has to be your Super Bowl.
Yes.
You have to come out with that level of fire and passion and like absolute just readiness to go out and take it to your opponent because they are doing that to you. I think this is back-to-back games now where the opponent threw the first punch. This week, don't let them throw the first punch. Go out and throw the first punch at them. Make this, approach every game like it's your Super Bowl as well, because you're at a disadvantage if you allow everyone else to look at you as their Super Bowl and you aren't matching that energy.
100%, man. BJ and DJ were asked, how'd you guys rally in the second half? I think this is BJ speaking. I'm pretty sure he said, I feel like the first half, first it was a tale of two halves. Like the first half was very out of character for how, for when it comes to our mentality and what we brand ourselves as a defense. It wasn't really a rah-rah speech at halftime. Coach Livingston just said, just gave us a play call and we had to execute. There was no change. We just executed and we played like how we were supposed to play. It was the same calls from the first half. We just executed better.
Look, man, they gave up 21 points in the first half. They gave up 0 in the second. And you can always woulda, coulda, shoulda. But the ball literally went through Levante Bentley's hands to make that 14 points given up in the first half. And who knows what that would have changed the game and if it would have even changed the game. But from a defensive perspective, you have to be pretty encouraged about what happened in the second half and really leading up to that last drive of the first half where they could have had a huge stop there. I'm I might even be willing to say I'm bullish on this defense going forward.
How can you not be?
Get these guys back healthy for sure. That's going to be important. But with Camsell and Craig out there, you saw a different level of intensity, with him getting around the line of scrimmage. And I think he had 11 tackles, 3 for a loss. Was just an absolute dog out there with his hair on fire.
Yep.
So I feel really good about what this team can do. And I think so long as they can get the ball rolling, get momentum going as a football team, I think as this season starts to settle in and take shape, you're going to see multiple times where the defense goes out there and makes it easy on the offense to win a game.
Yep. BJ was asked, you guys haven't really gotten to the quarterback. I think this team has 1 sack right now, and it's Chidoze's from NDSU.
Okay.
BJ said, like I said before, the sacks come in splashes. They come in waves. I feel like the dam is about to break. There's just little things, like I said before, that I have to do better. In the second half, I was getting a lot of QB pressures. I have to go back and rewatch my film. I went to break down just little stuff like that, breaking down, making sure I take the proper footwork at the beginning of my rush, because once the handwork and everything gets there, I can get through that half second earlier, so I can turn those pressures into sacks. Just being critical on yourself, like I said before, taking advantage of every opportunity. Coach Lewis challenged me to play the first half like how I played the second half and take over how I know I can play. I feel like I played more like myself that second half, washed all the stress and everything away, and we just played football, and I feel like that's what a lot of us did.
He's been close.
Yep.
And he got called for a bullshit roughing the passer. But he's been close.
Yep.
BJ, that is.
What else do we got? BJ on the team handling the spotlight. He said, football is football. We just got to execute like we know how to execute. It's just little things we have to work on. The lights don't really affect us. We just have to do what we need to do. And that's pretty much it from today's pressers.
Good. I'm ready to move past the pressers. One more thing from a presser, though.
Uh-huh.
What did you think of what Jay Norvell said? I felt like it was a sneak diss.
What did he say?
He just said the personality of the team is the same as it was last year.
Okay.
And he doubled and tripled down on, like, they really want to pass the ball. They really want to pass the ball. They really want to pass the ball. So I think there was a little bit of posturing from both sides.
Sure. CSU didn't really get to see this team at full strength, though, because they knocked out Travis Hunter in the first quarter. So.
Yep. And as we're all working to band together, Amar lasers at CSU, I suggest everyone go back and watch that play just to remember the way that you felt when that happened.
Yep. When we had Chidoze here, he talked about that play.
Yep.
I think he's going to use that as a little motivation to get back faster this week, too.
Man, I hope so. Oh, and speaking of last thing from Jay Norvell's press conference, he said that they are hopeful that Torrey Horton is going to play, but that he's dealing with a groin injury. Mm-hmm. Those two things don't add up to me.
Yep.
Athletes are obviously different than your average Joes, but I was doing some research, and even like minor groin strains say they take like 3 to 4 weeks to fully heal.
It's a lot like a hamstring where it can feel great, and then it's just one long
cut.
stride, one cut, and it just goes, and you're back in the same spot, and that week of rehab you just did is all out the window.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. There's a little part of me that thinks it might be some gamesmanship, wanting Colorado to feel like they have to prepare for Torrey Horton. There's another part of me that thinks that, it's a rivalry, and this is their Super Bowl, and Torrey Horton wants to be out there no matter what. I'm being 100% honest when I tell you I hope that he doesn't do anything to jeopardize the rest of his season or his future, because he's an incredibly, incredibly talented football player who has a real future in the NFL.
Definitely. All right, let's take our final break, and then we'll get to questions. Shout out to Red Hawk Roofing. We got you covered from Florida Roof here at DNVR. Got our friends at Empire today. You also have our friends at Red Hawk Roofing. It is hail season out here in Colorado. That weird time of year where it's like changing in the weather, you know, hot during the day, cold at night, results in hail. So don't wait to take care of any issues before more big hailstorms hit. Call our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing. You can go online to redhawkroofing.com or call 720-771-8921 and tell them DNVR sent you. They are huge fans of DNVR, so that means we are huge fans of them. They're big Nuggets fans, Buffs fans, Broncos fans. So if you support them, you're really supporting our community. Supporting your local teams means also supporting local businesses like Red Hawk Roofing. If you're looking for a new roof over your home and business, be sure to check them out. Again, redhawkroofing.com or call 720-771-8921. Tell them DNVR sent you.
Also, shout out to Chinook Seedery. Man, they know how to hook us up with the best seeds in the game.
Yep.
Sent us so many seeds, and we've tried them all, and they're all incredibly good. Jake's favorite is the Parmesan peppercorn Parmesan?
Parmesan pepper and the Hatch Green chilies.
All right, that was close. Hatch Green chili is the one that I love, and I also love the barbecue. It has, in my opinion, the most pop of flavor. You can even get the cinnamon ones, which are really good. So check out our friends over at ChinookSeedery.com and use the code BUFFS for 20% off your order. That's code BUFFS for 20% off the best seeds ever.
Subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening right now. We'd appreciate your 5-star review. And to all the haters in the chat, we appreciate the view.
Man, I hope you guys stick around all season.
Yeah.
Keep driving up those numbers for us.
Questions.
People are saying Bentley got a sack in the NDSU game. Is that one of those ones that they didn't credit him for, or did they go back and credit him for it later because they called it like a designed run?
Answer this question, and I will give you an official answer on the stats.
All right. The question is, why do y'all think press conference so bad? Prime treats all games the same. He wants to win. What am I missing here? I don't know. I don't understand the question. Sorry.
Yes, he was credited with the sack. So we have 2 sacks.
All right, there you go. Bent is absolutely balling this season.
He is, and Nikhai Hill-Green had a great game in relief of Trevor after he was ejected.
He did. I would say that. Well, no, he started for Trevor.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So well, either way, he was all over the field making plays. But I remember the second half, especially. Well, the defense really turned it up second half, but he was part of that.
I would say that Nikhai played with an aggression that I really liked to see out there. But yeah, he started the game. Trevor was coming in on third downs, and Nikhai came in to start the game, and I thought he just played incredibly well. Him and Cam both played with an aggression that I like to see from that defense.
Yep.
Val says
DJ McKinney had a fantastic game, by the way.
he did.
He was really balling out there. He's a great football player.
Val says, are we becoming more like a Chuck Fairbanks Colorado team or one that Coach Mack would be proud of? To be honest, Chuck Fairbanks era is before my time. I know it was bad, but I don't know what the teams looked like. I think that Coach Mack would be proud of the level of talent that's on this team. I think that, they obviously need to play better than they did last week. No one wants to lose to Nebraska, and Coach Mack and Coach Prime are both high on the list of people who don't want to lose to Nebraska, but Coach Mack might be the highest.
Yeah. Ivan, do we trust our kickers? Do you? Because I don't either.
No, not yet. I don't know what's going on. Because I feel like Mata, I've seen some clips of him kicking the ball in practice, and it's coming out a lot more clean. Mm-hmm. But nothing has come out clean on the field this year.
No. He's got to get his kicks up, man.
Yeah.
He's got to. Let's Work asks, is Omarion Miller getting more reps? I wouldn't bank on it on Saturday. CMRO.
All right.
Ivan again, does a game like last weekend discourage someone like Juju?
I don't know. I truly don't know. I think that there's a million different. I actually mentioned this on the post-game show about how it's like college football 25, where there's a million things that matter to recruits.
Like 25 of them.
Yeah, and different boxes get checked for different guys.
Yep.
I have no idea if Juju Lewis watched the game and cared about the result. Some recruits certainly would. Some recruits wouldn't. Some recruits care more about, how close you are to their home, or some recruits care about how much money you're paying them in NIL. Like, there's all different facets to this. But I will say this: everything is better when you're winning, and that in recruiting is absolutely at the top of that list.
Nope. Same. I have no idea what Juju thinks of the beginning of the season for all three teams: Indiana, USC, and Colorado. I mean, there's a lot in flux. USC's got a quarterback that might come back next year that could ruin what Juju wants to do, which is play right away.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. I mean, never mind. I'm not going to go down that road.
MLN, can't Coach Prime hire a Coach Hilo equivalent for the running back room? They need a jolt, a boost, some fresh ideas and perspective.
I would love fresh ideas to be implemented in the run game by Pat Shurmur.
Yes.
I have watched so many football games over the last 72 hours where teams are scheming up ways to get their running backs with a head full of steam getting to the second level. The number one best example of this is, of course, Kyle Shanahan's offense with the 49ers. No one had ever heard the name Jordan Mason until last night.
Right.
In fact, I hadn't even heard it because the game was on mute until the second quarter. I was like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And then I unmuted the game and they're talking Jordan Mason. But it didn't matter because they're doing all of these just delightful, word of the day, things to open up holes for their running backs. You can't just hand the ball off out of shotgun and expect the run game to get moving and get motoring across. Turn those games on. Sean McVay, same kind of West Coast system, which, by the way, Pat Shurmur, also a West Coast disciple.
Yep.
Like I mentioned after the postgame show, the pistol, let's run some counter out of pistol. Let's run some motion that runs behind it and gets the linebackers moving one way and hand it off the other way. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like some sort of football guru here. I feel like this is really simple stuff. You can't just,
Yes.
you have to commit to the run game on Monday. Mm-hmm. And in fact, you got to commit to the run game even before that. But there have been so many, the Lions, they passed the ball once, driving down to beat a pretty good football team in overtime by just punching them in the mouth over and over again.
Yep.
But not just doing it simply. There was some simple runs called in there, but they're getting creative in the run game. That is the number one thing that I am begging for from this coaching staff, namely Pat Shurmur, is to steal some stuff.
Yeah.
They always talk about the NFL as a copycat league. Well, you can steal stuff from the NFL and bring it to college as well. There's great, beautiful run schemes being designed up out there. Let's take some of them.
100%. I said in the post game, we need more pre-snap motion. We need to utilize our speed before the snap, jet motion. Let's do some pin and pull. Let's put our offensive linemen in situations where they don't have to, hit these blocks and then move up to the second level. Let's use these angles in the formations to their benefit and try and get on the perimeter. Let's toss it out there. Let's pull some guards. Let's bring in the tight ends. Let's run more RPOs that aren't just bubbles and curls. Let's get a underneath tight end coming out from split zone action.
Yes.
All kinds of stuff, man.
Yeah, credit to Nebraska. They ran that split zone all day long. Mm-hmm. This stuff, to run the ball is not just to say we're going to hand it off a bunch of times. It's to come up with ways to confuse the defense so that your running backs can go somewhere.
Is this a question on the screen? Yeah. iWalk says, what are your thoughts on Bucky telling Matt that he told his dad to stop letting stuff go? If guys can figure it out.
If guys can figure it out.
If you see it and think it should be changed, change it now, not later. I didn't listen to the show, so I don't know the context, honestly. I don't know. I wish I could actually give you an answer. But
yeah, if I had to guess, it's about Coach Prime has the approach of he wants to see how you're reacting to something and how you he puts his coaches out there and he wants to see how they correct things or how they are going to act in certain situation. I think what Bucky is saying is he's telling Coach Prine to say, no, stop. Don't wait for them to figure it out. Just go attack it, which is interesting.
Richard Wiles asked Jake, okay, what happens if CU shows the same lack of toughness as last week and lose again? Then what? 5.
Pandemonium.
Yeah.
Panic. Absolute meltdown. I mean, you want an answer to the question? We're going to put it up. Then that's what will happen.
Yep. Super chats we go. Chris with the 199 says, upset as anyone. Winning is the ultimate deodorant. 100%. Thank you, Chris.
Amen. I said this to someone yesterday. I said, nobody has ever needed a blowout win more than this fan base needs it. Yep. Winning, of course, number one. But if Colorado could go win by a lot, it would go miles towards calming everyone down.
Definitely. Devin with the $10 super chat. Everyone is upset because they see the same issues we saw last year. Of course, Shador's checking out of a run in 10 personnel. Hayden's average shows we can run. This will get worse before it gets better. I don't necessarily agree with that.
I don't agree with the last part.
Yeah.
I think that there were some big lessons learned last week.
I'd hope so.
For everyone.
Yep.
And I think that moving forward, you're going to see a team that attempts to commit to the run. Now, you got to do all the things that I just mentioned for it to actually work, or else we will end up right back where we're at. If we keep thinking that inside zone out of shotgun with Charlie Offerdahl is going to get our running game going exclusively, we will be wrong. Also, how about let's call a draw?
A screen pass to the running back.
Think about how good a draw would work against teams who think you want to throw the ball every play.
Yep. All right. Jose with the 499 says, a bit concerning. Bucky on 360 Pod today spoke about his pops waiting too long to speak up when he sees something. Coach needs to be more assertive. Yeah, same thing.
Thanks for the super chat.
Appreciate you, Jose. Obi says, this is why Trevor shouldn't start. Hill Green. Thank you, Obi.
He was great.
Yeah, he balled out.
I thought Nikhai was as advertised, and I want to see more of him for sure. Definitely. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, did they do away with the second half thing? Or is Trevor Woods suspended for...
No, that was at the end of the first half. He's fine.
But does that still exist?
Yes.
Okay. I thought for some reason they did away with that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Either way, it did happen in the first half, so if they still have the rule, then...
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it was DJ, right, who got called for it late, but they overturned it.
Yeah, and then Bentley got called for one?
But also got overturned?
I think so.
Because only one ended up getting called.
Yes. Anything else?
That is it.
All right, chat. Be kind to each other.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yes. We
right
have a
now,
game Saturday.
Right now is where it turns.
Come
right
on.
now. The end of this show, the second that we press end, all of the BS that we've been arguing and fighting about amongst each other ends, and we aim our focus on Cheap Shot University.
100%.
Remember the shot on Travis Hunter. Remember Kim Norvell calling Shador a bitch.
Yep.
Remember the kid, the son, talking shit about Travis and says his injury rating should be lowered.
Yep.
Remember all of this stuff. Forget our differences for right now. Let's go and focus on kicking CSU's ass.
Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's go Buffs.